Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, we'll be discussing the 1960 science fiction classic, The Time Machine, starring Rod Taylor. Of course, this movie is based on the famous novel by H.G. Wells, who was one of the grandfathers of science fiction, along with Jules Verne. Of course, H.G. Wells, of course, wrote three of the best science fiction novels of all time. Time Machine, which is going to be discussed in this video, War of the Worlds, and of course, The Invisible Man. The War of the Worlds and The Invisible Man I previously reviewed in other videos for those films. Now I want to complete the trifecta by discussing The Time Machine. Of course, The Time Machine is basically a story about a guy who was a scientist who invented his own time machine. I mean, the movie's supposed to take place just in 1900, when the new century. Technically, the new century started in 1901, folks. I mean, not 1900. But anyways, it was supposed to be New Year's Day, or actually New Year's Eve, 1899 into the year 1900. Excuse me. My damn sciences. And so what happened is, no one believed that this guy would create a device that would make him travel throughout time. So what he decided to do, he was interested, or the scientist, played by Rod Taylor, was interested in traveling into the future to see how man has evolved. And his friend says, "Oh, you should check the past to see if maybe you can change the future or something." And so he goes, No, I don't want to change what's going to happen. It's going to change the whole outline and stuff. I want to see how man has evolved. I'm interested in that. So what he did is it goes from 1900 to 1917, which was at the height of the First World War. So he sees that England, because the story takes place in England. So he realized that England was at war with Germany, and so on, so what was going on. And then he decided to go further into the future, of almost 30 years, and he realizes that England was still at war with Germany. But he doesn't realize there was a Second World War in 1945, or the tail end of World War II, during the Blitz of England. That's where he went to, where Germany was bombing England during World War II. And he figured it was still the First World War. When we realized it was the Second World War. And then he decided to go way to the future, like thousands of years in the future, almost like 1,000,000 years in the future. And he realizes how the Earth was destroyed pretty much with nuclear war. And where he is like buried under rock. So he says he's going to go further, or before he goes thousands of years in the future, when like a couple hundred years in the future, he realizes the Earth was destroyed. So he goes, well, let me see if we can go further into the future, how far I can go before there's no more rock around where I am. So he keeps going further and further and further, and he sees time passing forward, or going forward in a much quicker rate, until there's no more rock. So now he's out in this valley, and he realizes that humans have evolved to a point where like two sets of humans, one living below ground and one above ground. And the one above ground goes to a much simpler rate, almost like a Greek or ancient Greek culture, or ancient Greece culture, or ancient Roman, so almost. And then below ground, it's like this almost ape-like humans. And so like two sets of humans on this planet. The real primitive type, and a little bit more like a ancient Greece, or ancient Greek culture. And I realized he doesn't really like this culture, that much, because I think it was so crazy. I mean, that's how that, humans have evolved too. And he must to stay there for a while because his machine, the time machine, was taken by the primitive humans, and so keep trying to get his machine back. So he go back to the time where he came from in 1900. And so he eventually does do that while he's falling in love with one of the natives. And that was pretty much going to happen in this film. And so what he decides to do, he decides to help these people out because he realized there was times where a whole bunch of these people were going down into the caverns where the primitives were, and the primitives eat them. And I'm not kidding, they're like cannibals, the primitive humans. So he decides to help them because as soon as the sirens go off, they get like hypnotized, and as many of them as possible get into down into the caverns, and then they get killed by the primitives. So what Taylor's character decides to help him out, and which he does do, and destroys the whole bottom of the cavern, and he ends up finding his machine where his machine was, and he got his machine back, and then he goes. He wanted to bring the girl with him, and said, "Well, you might not. I don't think you will fit, and you don't fit in my time as much as I fit in your time. I mean, we're from two different times, two different time periods." But he said, "Oh, I want to go with you. I want to go with you anyway." And he said, "If you could fit in here, I could fit in your time." So he says, "Oh, okay, whatever." And but he accidentally sets the machine off before she was able to join him. So he goes back to 1900, and then he tells all of his friends his adventures and what happened, and what happened in the time period he virtually ended his time traveling with. And then he decides to go back he has to have a flower from the future. And he says to his friend who was not experienced with botany, and says, "Oh well, this type of flower is not going to survive in our time period." So when he decides, what Taylor says, he decides to go back for the girl, and because it's all over the girl, he decides to go back into that time period, and that's pretty much how the story. I know that was the original ending of the original novel, but that's how it ended in the movie. And I thought it was quite long. I think of the three movies that's based on H.G. Wells' three most famous novels, this one's the longest in terms of time. And I didn't think it was too bad, but I thought it was kind of dull, kind of boring and stuff. So, and then from a guy who wrote, the best science fiction movies of all time, stories in War of the Worlds in particular, and to write this story, The Time Machine, and I think, I don't know, maybe it comes off better as a novel than a movie, and it comes off that well, in this film, in my opinion. But you can't hit a home run every time at bat. Even Babe Ruth struck out once in a while. Or even Hank Aaron, who recently passed away, even he struck out once in a while. So it's I mean, unfortunately that's how this movie ended pretty much. So that's my review of the movie, The Time Machine. Please click on the video, please rate it. Please rate my channel, please forward this video on your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel at RowdyC.com, so WDY, and that's C.com. On the homepage, you're Rowdy reviewer Chris Lee Moore. Please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.